And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host, Rob, a.k.a. B-Ball Archives. And once again, I got the bums in the house, AJ Adam. Thank you for being here.
USA, 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 USA.
Pretty
Olympic
much.
time. Let's go.
Thank y'all for filling in for me admirably on our last episode. I had some technical difficulties caused by my big-ass dog, so good to be back and enjoyed listening to just y'all talk and not me babbling the whole fucking time.
Yeah, well, it's tough to be on the pod when your monster of a dog just rips your internet out of the wall. So that's understandable. But yeah, we got some Olympic basketball today. We're going to be talking about Team USA, some other teams that could make a splash out there. But honestly, it's kind of up in the air. I feel like there's a lot of teams that could pose a threat. We got some off-season topics to dive into as well. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff. So let's just dive right on in. When we're talking Olympic basketball, obviously we're Americans. We got to start with Team USA. And there's been a lot of interesting rotations within the Team USA lineup that we've seen within the last couple of games. Adam, how are you feeling about these rotations?
First off, I want to say that I imagine it's difficult whenever you have 12 guys of that caliber, 12 of the best, American players in the world, to try and fit all of them into one game. But you go from having a reigning champion, a 3-time straight first-team All-NBA player not playing one game to starting the next game. And then in that very next game, you don't play Joel Embiid, who is an MVP, multiple-time first-team All-NBA type player as well. I think that there's just been inconsistencies, and I'm wondering if Kerr fully knows what he's doing. Granted, Tatum not playing, I feel like his skill set's somewhat redundant. So maybe, what does he really provide to the team that a guy like Durant can't do, or Anthony Edwards can't do, or LeBron can't do? So I don't know. Just seems super inconsistent, and I'm wondering if Kerr is the right man for the job.
That's a very interesting point. So you feel like Steve Kerr should be replaced by Spoelstra? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I think that if you took a poll of who of NBA players, of executives, which coach is a better NBA coach, and I would bet a very high percentage of them would vote for Spoelstra. I mean, you look at Kerr and how he's made his resume. He overtook a Golden State team that was obviously destined to do great things. I don't know that he was the, straw that put them over the camel's back, so to speak. So I don't know. I'm questioning his rotations. I'm questioning a lot of things that he's doing. We have played better in the last game. I think our last game against South Sudan, we came out and we definitely played better. But we had some growing pains, and I think his starting lineup's been all over the place. And up until recently, it was very blatant that Joel Embiid hadn't been playing well, and he had steadfast started him, and then now he finally sits him, and maybe we have our best game. So I don't know. It's been a little all over the place for me.
Well, and he said that Embiid's going to be starting next game. So that's also an additional head scratcher, is that we went from playing Embiid, not really playing that well. The offense was looking slow, to not playing him at all. We have a good game, and then now all of a sudden he's back in the lineup. I don't think that makes sense. But when I hear that we're making these adjustments based on matchups and specific personnel that we feel like can be utilized in ways that I may not be seeing, but as long as they can justify these lineup changes, I think I'm okay with it, as long as we're producing wins. But the minute we stop winning, I think that there's going to be a lot of people looking at Steve Kerr saying, hey, why didn't we keep the same lineup the whole time to try to build chemistry? AJ, how are you feeling about what the Team USA is doing right now with their rotation?
Well, it feels like in every game that we've played, exhibition, these two Olympic games, we've just been moving in mud. It doesn't look very fluid. It doesn't look very good. It seems like everyone's really choppy. I think these FIBA rules have really kind of set in, and we're starting to get a little more comfortable with it, but we're still having a lot of trouble. It seems like we're not really hitting our shots. I mean, we have, yes, the South Sudan game, they started off terrible. I mean, they looked rough, and then the second unit came in, and that's when KD and those guys started to hit shots, and we started to kind of pull away. But even then, in the third quarter, it got down to 10, and there was a couple of plays that could have gone the other way, and then that lead just dwindles. So with the rotation itself, I think with just the guys that we have, they're still trying to learn these FIBA rules, which is interesting because if you look back on some of these guys, they played in like an under 23 or an under 18 FIBA style game. So, maybe it's just the way that the NBA is set up. And, I know people on the internet are calling for more FIBA rules in the NBA, which could help with some of these growing pains that we're going through. But at the end of the day, we can't have a Steph Curry go 1 for 9. We can't. I mean, Bam can't really lead us in scoring. If Bam's leading us in scoring, something's going sideways. So there's just a lot of question marks. The defense itself, we look good at times, but then if you get Curry on an ISO, he's going to get blown by. Our defense just seems like it's quick enough, but we also haven't been playing top tier teams. Whenever we got this pool of Serbia, South Sudan, and Puerto Rico, it's like, yeah, we should blow these teams out. And to an extent we are, but we're not. It just doesn't look like we're really playing at our highest octane, to be honest with you. And I think if we go against a team that is hitting shots, or they're a little more consistent, or they're more comfortable with these rules, then we're going to run into some trouble, because what's the game plan then? And then going back to your point, that's when the rotation really means a lot. So we'll see how this whole thing plays out. Halliburton hasn't seen the floor at all, which is kind of crazy to me.
I mean, he did. He did last game. Yeah, he went in the game and he hit a 3 immediately.
Yeah, he started off 2 for 2 from 3 and then missed his third deep one, heat check.
Yeah,
so he hadn't played the last couple practice warm up games, and he didn't play his first one whenever Tatum didn't play either.
So it's just weird, man. It's just weird to see this team, and it really kind of goes to this is might be our last hurrah to secure gold in USA basketball.
I don't know about that. I think that it's clear that the rest of the world is at least more competitive. I can't remember the exact statistic, but the number of NBA players on Canada matches the number of NBA players that were in the entire Olympics back from 1992 from other countries, of course.
Yeah.
So it's clear that the rest of the world is catching up. And it's a little wild and concerning that we're relying so much on our older veterans, and guys like Tatum, Halliburton aren't really putting us over the top. It's really these older guys that are holding their own. Kevin Durant comes in. That's one talking point, right? Comes in his first game, goes 8 for 8 in the first half. I think he shot 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 from threes in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
And really gave us an offensive punch that we clearly needed. And I don't know that anybody should be surprised at that. He's still one of the best scorers in all of basketball. Yeah.
But in 4 years, we're not going to have Kevin Durant. We're not going to have LeBron James. We're not going to have Steph Curry. Joel Embiid's probably not going to play in the next Olympics. So there's so many players that aren't going to be around that we're relying on. Cooper Flagg's going to be great, but he's going to carry us to a gold when we have 4 years with Wemby and 4 years with another Canadian team. I mean, there's the rest of the world in 4 years. The 2028 LA Olympics is going to be very competitive on the basketball front.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like we've been saying, the rest of the world is obviously catching up, and when LeBron is our best player, that does not send positive signals to the future. And guys like Steph and KD, they are clearly deferring to LeBron in a lot of these moments in late game situations, and that is kind of a little disturbing when you have Jason Tatum coming off of a prime, like basically in his prime, coming off of a championship run. His confidence should be sky high. There's no reason why when he gets these minutes he shouldn't be attacking the rim. And I feel the same way about Anthony Edwards. Like, he just came off of a really impressive postseason run. There's no reason why there shouldn't be a shred or any lack of confidence when they're attacking the rim. And there's moments where I'm seeing it, and it's just like, why are these older guys having to still carry the load in this way? It doesn't make fully sense. It doesn't make sense. But in all honesty, the fact that LeBron is still the best player on this team is absolutely crazy. It's it's longevity like we've never seen, not only in basketball but in all of sports.
Do you think he's the most important person for our team right now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even last game, like you saw, like he was just doing a little bit of everything. I mean, he was outscored by Bam and KD, but at the same time, it was like 12, 7, and 5. And whenever there was little lulls or lags in the game, it was LeBron taking it to the rim, LeBron making a nice pass, or LeBron getting a tough rebound on a defensive possession that just needed to happen, and it was LeBron making that happen. And the fact that he's 21 years in the league and we're still seeing this kind of effort and this kind of execution is just, it's crazy. Like I can put I like no one in the basketball world can be compared to his longevity. You have to bring up like Tom Brady or Wayne Gretzky to mention his longevity.
And he puts them to shame.
To certain degrees, I agree.
I don't know about Tom.
To certain degrees, I agree. But that's a completely different conversation. But what we're seeing from LeBron is special.
I think that there's an argument to be made that Anthony Davis is the most important player to this roster. With how shaky Embiid's looked, I think that his presence on the defensive end has been kind of unmatched. His ability to get up and down the court and be a big shot blocker. I think he allows this team to play at a different pace and can get us in a little bit quicker lineups. Bam's obviously played great. So if we didn't have AD, I think Bam would be able to at least replace a good number of those minutes. But, Anthony Davis, knock on, whatever. He goes down and sprains his ankle, it looked like, or at least tweaked it. Was it in the third quarter of that last game? Mm-hmm. And I think, what did AJ say? Oh, the grass is green. Grass is green because we're all
grass is green.
Yeah, I mean we need him healthy though. I think with how shaky Embiid's looked and our lack of kind of front court depth outside of those three players, I think it's really imperative that he's healthy and I think that he's looked great. He really has. I think that this type of game really favors him and he's looked fantastic so far.
We have to beat the brakes off Puerto Rico, and I think we're going to dog walk Puerto Rico, but we should. I mean, we haven't covered the spread in any of our games yet, so we'll see. But I think we should dog walk Puerto Rico because we definitely going to need a higher seed, so we don't have to play the likes of a Canada or a France or a Germany until maybe the semifinals or even the gold medal round. So that's kind of my hope, and if we can, that'd be great. If we don't, then if we're coming out in the quarterfinals and we're having to play Canada, that's going to be a good game to watch because they're going to have a lot to play for. And the way that we've started out the game, if honestly we are one hot shooter away from having a really terrible start and a really bad game, to be honest with you. So if someone starts hitting shots, because that's been the big thing in Serbia and the South Sudan games, that no one on their side has hit any shots, and they haven't really been consistent. So if someone gets hot on the other side, we might be in trouble, especially if Steph Curry goes another 1 for 9.
Yeah, we can't be having that. Speaking of Puerto Rico, a topic that you mentioned earlier, Rob, that I want you to expand on a little bit more was how Kerr openly said Embiid's going to be starting versus Puerto Rico and how he attributes that to matchups. I'll admit I couldn't name a Puerto Rican basketball player in the history of mankind outside of...
You can name 2.
Well, I could name Carlos Arroyo, but I don't think he's still playing.
No.
Do you think that's genuinely why he benched Embiid last game and he's going to be starting this game? Do you genuinely blame it on matchups, or what would you attribute that to?
I think that he's in a difficult position where he's got to make a lot of really big personality guys happy, and so I think that, like you were saying earlier, his job is tough. But if he wants to justify it as, Puerto Rico's not a larger team, they don't have a big front court, they're going to need Embiid to just kind of play bully ball down low, I could see that being a reality. But at the same time, to say that they wouldn't have needed him last game and then all of a sudden you need him like Anthony Davis and Bam couldn't play that bully ball down low. It's like I'm not fully buying it, but I'm also just kind of understanding his struggle, and there's a lot of different fan bases that are putting a lot of pressure on him to play their superstar players. I'm literally seeing Twitter from both Boston and Philadelphia just roasting Embiid and roasting Tatum for getting no minutes, and it's just so I see it from a social perspective, but ultimately I don't think that there's a huge matchup reason why you need to start Embiid against Puerto Rico.
It's a confidence thing. At the end of the day, it's going to be a confidence thing. They're going to go to Embiid early. He's going to try to get some buckets quick. He's going to get a couple of layups, maybe a couple of dunks, maybe he makes a shot or two, just to get his confidence back up. Because I think that's what we're just lacking, is just confidence. And this team just isn't gelling. It's not a really complementary play. We have a lot of redundancy. So that's why I'm worried about the teams that are a lot better than our group right now.
I mean, there's certain players that I feel like are playing well together. I think a lineup with like Bam or AD with KD, Anthony Edwards, Derek White. I think a lot of those guys can kind of play with anybody. I think it's whenever you get a bunch of guys that are used to being ball dominant all in the same court at one time, it makes it tough. Like LeBron, Tatum, Edwards might not all be the best guys to have on the court at the same time. But I think Bam can play with anybody. Anthony Davis can play with anybody. Either of Boston's guards can play with anybody.
Steph can play with anybody. He can play off
should
ball.
Be able to. Yeah, right. He doesn't need the ball to play well. He's just got a little cold. It was just one game.
Oh yeah. I'm not worried about that. He's going to be able to play off ball just fine. But one thing I have seen is, have y'all seen the LeBron and Steph too small call? Have y'all seen him do that multiple times?
It's a good play. It's a great play.
Yeah, honestly, it's been really, really great. So like I feel like the too small call is going to work against teams like obviously Puerto Rico, but against Canada as well, teams that don't have a massive front court presence. So it's essentially is, instead of the guard getting the ball at the top of the key, it's LeBron. Curry sets the screen on him. Curry rolls. The man has to stay with Curry, because what are you going to do? Leave the best shooter in basketball history? No, you're going to stay with Curry, and then that leaves an open lane for LeBron. And if there's no dominant front court player down there, it's easy money. And if Curry's man switches off on LeBron, you have a guard that was guarding Curry on LeBron. You just take him down low in the paint. And any and every time that they've made that call, it has been an instant bucket, because Curry or LeBron can initiate it. Either one of them have insane basketball IQ, and if one of them sees this mismatch, they can initiate the play. And I think having them on the court together makes a whole lot of sense moving forward.
Yep, can't argue with that.
I think the no defensive 3 seconds is throwing us off a little bit, because people are just hanging out down there, whether it's trying to get in front of somebody or just grab rebounds. I think there's been times where you can tell that they want to drive, but they can't because there's two people just camping out down there.
Yeah, and people calling for that to be initiated back into the NBA is just awful. I would never want to see a lack of defensive 3 seconds. Like, being able to open up the court makes the game so much more exciting, and it really is a completely different brand of basketball. You've heard Luka talk about this in the past, like why it's so much more difficult to score in some of these European leagues. It's because of that rule specifically. Your inability to just sag and lay and help off, when you're off ball, just completely changes the game. And I just would hate to see that. I don't think the NBA would ever consider that. Would make the brand of basketball far less exciting to watch, and that's what their focus is on: viewership and excitement and so forth.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, it would just make playing defense, playing good defense when moving your feet like almost a thing of the past. Which like I enjoy seeing guys take the limitations that they receive defensively and almost see it as a challenge, and see these rim protectors in a 3-point era, and seeing how they're adapting. I think it would be a regression if anything.
But I also want to tip my hats off to South Sudan, man. South Sudan, like the story continues, and the way that they're playing basketball for not having an indoor facility is absolutely insane. The way that they're able to shoot, the way that they will move their feet, they have a high basketball IQ as well. I think yesterday just our talent just overwhelmed them. So we'll see what South Sudan has here coming up and how they continue to expand once they get an indoor facility with actual FIBA style court, basket, all that stuff. And I think that's a really cool story. And if they're able to win here in the next few years, even if it's just a bronze or anything in FIBA, the World Cup, things of that nature, I think that's really going to be a really fun story to talk about.
Yeah, shout out Luol Deng, shout out Royal Ivy, couple, obviously former pros, UT Longhorn and Royal Ivy, and then actually shout out to Nooni Omat, who played for Baylor. So three notable guys, and a couple other players that have played in the NBA and never really performed well. But I think, like anything, when guys are playing for their country and they have a little bit larger piece of the pie, they elevate their games. Who's the guy that they have that just has been shooting lights out for them in the last couple of games? I'm struggling to remember his name, but I swear he's fighting for a 10-day out there. This dude's just pulling.
I'm sure somebody will give him a deal. Yeah, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I remember the stroke.
Well, obviously we struggled with them in our first game, right? If you look at our game against Jokic in Serbia, the minutes that he was on the court, we were, I think, completely even, and we dominated when he was off. Mm-hmm. Who do y'all feel poses the biggest threat to us winning the Olympics? AJ.
Ooh. I was going to let Rob go first.
Oh, put you on the spot. Yeah, Rob, what do you think?
I think it's got to be. I think I want to say Canada, but I'm going to probably say France just because of the way our front court has been playing. I think that if I could see Wemby, I could see Gobert really putting one or two of our guys in foul trouble early on, and if that's if that's happening, if Embiid, if AD are getting in early foul trouble and forcing us to play small ball against that lineup, I think that could put us in a dangerous situation just because they're the only team that really has size and rim protection that can match up with ours and honestly outdo ours.
I just don't know that they have the guard play to be able to score with us, and I feel like I don't know if it's fair to say that I think guard play is almost dominating this Olympics a little bit more. And you look at a team in Canada who arguably you could make an argument at least that they have as good of a starting backcourt that the United States does, right? Shea and Jamal Murray are arguably as good as any 1 and 2 that we could put out there. And with how good those two guys, you don't think, would Shea not be one of our best players?
He would, but if we're talking about like Shea and Jamal versus like Steph and Ant, like I'm going Steph and Ant 100 times out of 100.
In 2017, I would, but not in 2024. In 2024, I'm going Shea and Murray, and those guys also aren't scared of the stage, and they're not scared of the U.S. And that's something I feel that the group that we were in, they're a little timid because they're like, holy shit, we're playing with.
I don't care who's scared or who's not scared. I care who's done it at that level, and honestly, who has Canada beat recently that has really, really, truly impressed you? Sure, have they played good basketball together? I'm not saying they haven't, but
us 2 years ago in FIBA, for one. Granted, not the same team.
Yeah.
Very different team now, but
I mean, within the past calendar year, like who have they beaten?
Well, they had a really good game against Greece and they closed them out, and that was impressive to watch. And it looked like Shea was really into that game too. So if he got lit, if his flame got lit during that game and he's ready to play in the Olympics, and ready to really go at it more than these other guys, then that could pose a big threat, because he, after the game ended, he got in those Greece guys' face, and then he posted on Instagram, even name dropped the dude that he was talking shit to. So
Nobody.
yeah, some guy named Walk Up. I don't even know who he is. But still, if you're going to get jazzed up over a game like that, then, I mean, you're going to be ready for the U.S. if it comes down to it.
I mean, let's be real. Nobody should beat us, right?
Right. I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that they're not going to be a good team. But I feel comfortable matching up with their guard and wing play when I know for a fact that they need R.J. Barrett to play well in order to beat us. Like, things like that need to happen in order for them to win. And it's like, I don't see that happening. Sure, we're talking about their elite backcourt, but I just see other holes, I mean, Dylan Brooks size holes, going up against some guys that we have that are just way better.
I hate Dylan Brooks, too.
Like, whether it be Germany, France, or Canada, all of them are going to have somewhat sus worldwide basketball players step up to be able to have a chance to beat us, right? France is going to need to heavily rely upon Nicolas Batum and Evan Fournier in order to have a chance to beat us.
Yes.
They haven't been playing bad.
Canada is going to need Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks to cook. R.J. Barrett's going to have to go wild. And then you need the Wagner brothers to ball out. You need Daniel Tice to play well. All these teams that should give us the best run for the money are relying on guys that aren't even good enough to make like our practice team that the U.S. team practices against leading up, right? None of those guys are good enough. But if there's one team, and obviously we're not talking Jokic, I don't think Serbia has enough depth, but if we're talking one team that not only has a player pretty much as good as any player on our team in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but a second guy who could make the U.S. team if he was across the border, and then a couple other complementary pieces, I think you got to go with Canada. But there is the Wemby factor, and we still don't know exactly what Wemby could do on this stage to impact a game. And we've seen it, and that's actually something we're probably going to talk about here soon and what we saw in his last game.
If the U.S. plays France, it will be 8-on-5. Like, I hope everyone understands that the referees are going to be in involved in some capacity. If they are doing it against Japan, they're definitely going to do it against the U.S. So we got to call a spade a spade. It is a factor, and they do have some home cooking, some nice croissants and escargots.
AJ, are you saying that there's a ref conspiracy theory right now?
Did you watch the Japan game? There is a huge conspiracy. It was a little questionable. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was great to watch because Wemby took over in overtime. That was awesome. But there were some very questionable calls going into that game, and the way that the refs have been calling these games has been it's been weird, to say the least, because at times they let him play, and at times they're calling ticky-tack fouls. And also, was it Anthony Davis? He got a flagrant foul or an unsportsmanlike foul for putting his elbow into one of the guys in South Sudan, which I thought it was just a regular basketball move. Was it a foul? Probably. But, I didn't think it was anything egregious. So, I do think that the refs will play a factor at some point. And France is the host country, so everyone's going to be cheering and rooting for France in their Jason Williams jerseys, but it's going to be fun to watch regardless.
You heard it here first. AJ thinks the French are corrupt refs.
No. Yeah, I didn't watch any of that. I was in the middle of work and I wasn't able to watch any of that France Japan game. But how is that a game? Like, I mean, Rui Hachimura just putting France in the blender and balling out. It's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that speaks to the fact that there's just a lot of lack of leadership with France. I think that's going to be ultimately their downfall. They don't. I mean, if they're playing a lot of guys that don't have a lot of on-ball experience, like I'm seeing, we were talking about it in group text. Like we're seeing Nando De Colo getting minutes, and it's like they got dudes way past their prime that are probably have no business distributing for that offense, and yet they're doing it.
Nicolas Batum looks way, way, way too comfortable taking difficult shots. But that's what they have to rely on. He is what? Is Batum their third best player? Is that fair to say?
I would say it's either him or Fournier.
Fournier, who struggled to get minutes for the last 2 years for the Knicks. Where did he just go? Fournier's on a new team, isn't he? I'm struggling.
You're asking
to
the
remember
wrong
that.
person. I'm
I'm
not the Fournier expert.
Following
on this
Evan
podcast.
Fournier and his whereabouts probably aren't top of mind. So Rob thinks that France is the biggest obstacle. I think that Canada. Are you in agreement on Canada, AJ, or you think a different team like Germany might be able to give us a better battle?
I think Germany might give us some problems. It seems Germany plays just really well together. They just look like a pretty well oiled machine. They know their roles. And, that's kind of the team that might punch us in the mouth if we're not careful. I mean, obviously our talent's beyond all these teams combined. But if we have the same game or the past 2 games, if we play the same way, we might get punched in the mouth if we're not expecting it.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think there's a few teams that I would put in the category of can beat us, but no one should beat us. Ultimately, I think that's the talking point right there.
But who is beating us though? All the teams on 3-on-3. Like
that's true.
So
we're getting our cheeks clapped.
Yeah, and my question to you guys is, what would you guys like to see 3-on-3 wise? Like, would you want to see maybe rookies go out there and compete in 3-on-3? Or would you want to see maybe some really good college athletes go out there? I mean, we got to revamp something because we can't be losing to scrubs in 3-on-3 when we're sending our scrubs too.
Bro, there's no reason why we shouldn't have NBA players playing 3-on-3. Like why aren't we doing this? Like imagine like we have freaking like Zion out there just like bullying people down low. Like I want to see that. Like let's get some guys that are maybe like 25, 26, 27, maybe that just want to be at the Olympics, maybe that aren't good enough to make the team, but at the same time, are good enough to play some 3-on-3 basketball, bring home at least a gold medal. That I don't see why not.
Like, I don't see why Halliburton and Tatum shouldn't just drop out of our roster to go be able to play for them right now. Their confidence is low. I think they might not even be able to do better than Jimmer at this point with how much Kerr's put them through the ringer.
Dude,
golly.
I mean, Zion, Jaylen Brown, and like Paul George or something. Like that would be a solid three lineup person. And
how about Ja Morant?
Or Ja Morant, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
We need better basketball players, and I hope they revamp it because I mean, God bless Canyon Barry. He's so much fun to watch shoot free throws because he does it just like Rick, and he just does it underhand, and it's so much fun to watch because you never get to see that ever. And I mean, he's very consistent. So, and also the women's always have WNBA players. Kelsey Plum won gold in the last Olympics on 3-on-3. So they're just not performing very well. And I mean, the game's fun to watch. It's very fast paced. I think it lasts like 20 minutes at the most. So it's just you're in and out and you're done. So I want to see us look at that again and put some good athletes and then start dominating that sport too.
I think NBA rookies would be exciting. I think Rob mentioned that earlier. Like, what if Stephon Castle was like playing in that? How exciting it would be.
Castle,
or maybe
Clinton.
maybe future like guys that are like, what about Cooper Flagg? Like, wouldn't he love to play 3v3? Jesus. I mean, you look at the you look at the 3v3 team that the women have put out. They're putting out some players like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I say her name? Haley Van Lith.
Yeah.
She's getting cooked, but
Yeah,
she's
she
playing.
did not
Like,
look good today.
couldn't we put like a comparable team out there of younger, skilled people that could represent our country a little bit better than like older, washed up players?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jimmer. He's done a lot for basketball in an international perspective, but like let's be real
type thing.
Yeah, I mean, he is dominating inmates, but at the same time, yeah, let's get some fresh blood in there. I feel like we could do better.
Facts.
But yeah,
let's get Anthony Edwards on the ping pong team too.
Bruh, he's getting cooked. I mean, there's no way that he's even getting a point. I mean,
Let's put him in the decathlon. He's good at everything. According to him, he could be a gold medalist in literally any event there is. Period. He's the best swimmer. I don't know if you heard him talking about that. He's talking about I don't know if you saw that clip and be like, "Oh, I'd be the best swimmer on the team."
We should get Ja on the shooting team. Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking about that whenever I said Ja earlier. I was like, would he make it back to the States, or would he be popping off in France?
Nah, he'd just be on Instagram with the damn gun, just showing it off, and it's like, bro, you got to hit the target, and he'd be like, nah, we're showing it off.
Yeah, he could actually be the guy to get us like a medal in the gun events. bring us back.
He honestly would not be as cool as that Turkish dude. That Turkish
cold-blooded killer, man.
Oh my! He just showed up, no like fancy eye gear, nothing, no fancy gun, hand in the pocket, bam, just fucking John Wicked that motherfucker, and I was like,
dude,
oh,
I'm surprised he didn't have a cigarette in his hand. I'm sure the Olympics were like, hey man, you got to put your cigarette out before you go out there, because he just looks like that guy is like.
Are there any other events that anyone up here would want to talk about regarding the Olympics?
AJ wants to talk about gymnastics.
So, hey, shout out to the men's gymnastics for the all around the team all around for getting bronze. Shout out to Frederick. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Brody, Paul, all those guys. Man, great job. Shout out to the women. Simone Biles is by far the greatest athlete to ever do any sport of all time. She is so good at her. Oh, I will debate this all day, every day. I have seen the greats play in their sport. Simone Biles is the greatest athlete at her sport, bar none. She's better than LeBron at basketball, MJ at basketball, Lionel Messi at soccer. She is
Michael Phelps at swimming.
Ooh, possibly.
Yeah, there we go.
Usain
Bolt at running.
She's better than Usain Bolt at running. I've never seen someone. Her difficulty is so high that she's judged on a different scale than all the other athletes. So whenever you see her scores, it's because they have to judge her on what she's doing and not what the other girls are doing, because the level is so high. And what she's doing is she has so many moves named after her that no one does them because no one can do them. And it's amazing to watch her compete. And the best part is whenever she lands and she finishes an event, she knows she's bad. And she walks off and she's like, yeah, I just cooked. So I am all about Simone Biles, and I will argue that every day, all day.
And you're all about gymnastics, and I think we're going to have to do a rebranding of calling ourselves the Baseline Ballerinas.
Yeah.
You're on like a first name basis with all these gymnastics.
It helps when you follow it, because your wife's not part of the team, but she helps with the travel and stuff for them. So
yeah, you were rattling off those names. I thought you were talking about a boy band or something.
They look like a boy band. They're all my height too, which is great. I'm like looking at them face to face. But I went to the World Championships last year in Antwerp, and that's what really turned me on to this gymnastic stuff, and to see them come back and dominate. It's been fun, and it's not over yet. And we still got a long way to go with some Olympic sports, and I cannot wait until breakdancing.
We need some more golds. We're getting cooked by other countries in gold medal count.
Oh, we're
still on top of the overall, but we're like, I think we're at 5 or 6 currently.
No, we got a couple today. We got 3 today, so I think
we're at 6 the last time I checked. I hope so.
We're at like 8 or 9, because Simone got gold, and then we got a swimmer that got gold. So we have more, but yeah, we're not doing well in swimming. Every time I look up, it feels like we're getting bronze in swimming. So just wait till track and field. I think we'll be okay in track and field.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, we're looking like third place Poppy. But
as we speak, by the way, U.S. women's basketball team's only up 7 right now against Belgium.
Yeah, I got it on right here, and we did not start the game out very well. We were letting them shoot a lot from beyond the arc, and I'm expecting more dominance from Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart down low. Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't be just absolutely handling Belgium.
Yeah.
Nice call, by the way, AJ. We are up to 9 gold medals as it currently sits. So
I know my Olympics, bruh.
Better day. So, well, I think we've kind of talked a good amount about U.S. basketball. We let AJ plug his fandom for gymnastics. So
yeah, if you want me to send you pictures, my wife went to the men's thing yesterday. I can send you pictures and videos.
Oh, I'd love for that more than anything. But there's a couple things that have happened outside of Olympic basketball. I feel like we should probably give a shout out to Gordon Hayward, who just announced his retirement a little bit earlier today. really, really good career, right? Was an NBA All-Star in 2017. Obviously had a major moment for Butler in the NCAA finals before he ever made it to the draft. Just a really good career, great long tenure in Utah. Honestly, caught me a little off guard that no team in the NBA found him good enough to still compete and provide some type of role. I think him going to Oklahoma City last year and just not really getting much of an opportunity, I think maybe just like killed his passion for it. Because if you look at how he played for the Hornets, like, he didn't do poorly the last couple years for Charlotte. He had some decent stat lines and played quite a bit for them. So I think he still has enough in the tank to contribute.
Put him on a 3-on-3 team.
If he's genuinely hanging him up, congrats to a really good career for Gordon Hayward.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did have a good career. Honestly, he exceeded what I thought he was going to do whenever he came out of Butler. I thought he may have had a 5, 6, 7 year career at best, and he really, really exceeded all of that. Was a really good dynamic offensive option. He did have multiple injuries throughout his career that kind of stopped some of his progression, some of them some pretty nasty injuries. But at the same time, I think what he was able to achieve, he had a really, really good career. And I agree. I think that there's still a team that could use his skill set. It's just he's nowhere near as good of a defender as he used to be, and he really was never a good defender to begin with. So it's kind of like if his offense isn't really clicking, he's really not even playable at this point. But yeah. I still agree that there's probably a contender out there that can use some off the bench scoring. Why not Gordon?
Yeah, that injury he had in Boston really. He came back and was still a good player after that, but nowhere near what he was before that injury. And that was brutal and gruesome. And honestly sad because the Celtics were – obviously they ended up getting there now, but that was – whenever they made that move for him, they were really, I think, the probably preseason favorites to win the championship that year. And I think it was the first game of the year that he went down with that, wasn't he?
I want to say it was like the first play of the game too. It was it was in the first quarter. It was like right away. That's
gross.
One of the top, his, Paul George's injury, Sean Livingston's are like three that just stand out to me that are really, really gruesome. So, but overall, don't want to focus on that. Good career for Gordon Hayward. Also,
some wardrobe changes.
Wardrobe changes?
Yeah, we got Tyrus Jones going to the Suns.
Oh, yeah. That's a big move for Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they finally have somebody that can facilitate their offense, and Devin Booker doesn't have to play, fake point guard every once in a while to try to move the ball, and maybe that's going to make Bradley Beal actually, play better off ball, and so I think Tyus Jones stepping in, being the key number one distributor. I think that's a really good thing. Obviously, they needed that, but it's going to create a question within their rotation. Who gets pushed to the bench? I think that's going to be interesting.
Well, I don't think you can have a $50 million player come off the bench, right?
Of course not.
It's unfortunate because Grayson Allen had such a good year and was one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, but I think he's going to be the obvious choice to get moved to the bench, right?
Yeah.
But he had such a good year. Like he was one of their guys that was one of their bright spots last year. And I hate to say that because I fucking hate Grayson Allen. But at the same time, I think that he showed enough to be like, hey, I'm a rotation piece on a good team. And so on a good team that's winning games, not just like a decent team. It's right. You need to justify those minutes, and I think he did a good job doing that.
I think Bradley Beal should come off the bench. I don't think he will, but I think it's borderline clear as day that he should come off the bench. I think Grayson Allen's a better defender. I think from a pure three-point shooting standpoint, Grayson Allen is a better three-point shooter at this stage of the career than Bradley Beal. And I think he might fit in with that lineup a little bit more. Honestly, he's a little bit better defender, like I said. He can shoot. And I think that Bradley Beal could come in off the bench and you could stagger his minutes alongside KD and Booker a little bit more to where he could have a little bit more ball dominance. I just don't see a way where the coaching staff is going to ask him to do that or he would want to do that. I think I don't think he's at this point of his career to where he feels he should be coming off the bench.
I mean, Bradley Beal is going to be on the bench for 40 games, so there's that.
Yeah, that's very true. So
Yeah.
Grayson Allen will be starting a good majority of next year, whether he wants to or not. But in all seriousness, this is like a really big get for Phoenix. I don't think Tyus Jones is a $3 million guy. I think that, his brother's getting $10 million a year. I think Tyus Jones could be a $15, $20 million a year player. And apparently he went to Phoenix because he views it as a better opportunity for him to win. I just can't believe there wasn't a better combination of winning and money out there for him. I know it's a 1-year deal, so it's going to be like, hey, go have 1 year, then get yourself a long contract after. But nothing's guaranteed in this league.
You're right.
Right.
Your tomorrow's not promised. You could be Gordon Hayward and blow your leg out. You know what I mean? But good get for them. And with how confined their flexibility is with being over the second apron, this is all they could go do is get a minimum player. And to get Tyus Jones on a minimum contract is wild and really, really big for Phoenix and should put them to another level from what they did last year.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, you needed somebody to distribute within that offense. You go ahead and get the assist to turnover ratio king. I think that made all the sense in the world. And to be brutally honest, they may have some questions to figure out about their rotation, but it's going to be good questions. It's going to be questions that good problems to have essentially. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Phoenix bounces back this next year.
Yeah, and another wardrobe change, we have Westbrook going to Denver, which is going to be interesting to see what his new role is going to be like and how he's going to fit into that puzzle. Because they need him to play a lot of defense and maybe not really scoring, but is he going to start? He's going to come off the bench. He's going to be comfortable with this new role. How is he going to fit into a Mike Malone offense? And it's going to be interesting to see what the Nuggets do, because the Nuggets have been pretty consistent with their play and all their players, so they're all gelled together. They know how each other play. But now you throw in a guy like Westbrook, who is, he's had his troubles with teammates in the past. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if he can actually complete playing for every single NBA team at this point. He's hopping around to a new team every year. Do you think he could end up wearing all 30 jerseys? That's an exciting one.
I mean, I think if you're Denver, you got to look at that as a good move. Like, you needed somebody, and it was clear how stagnant the offense was whenever Jokic was out of the game, and this gives them somebody that can pass the ball, that can drive, that can literally attract defense, and that knows how to pass the ball out of that. Is he gonna solve their shooting problems? Is he gonna be an effective 3-point mid-range shooter? Hell no, not at this stage in his career. But all they need him to do is just play 18, 20 minutes a game and facilitate whenever mainly Jokic is not in the game.
Yeah, if he can just be high intensity and the energy guy, then that's a great piece for Denver, because they kind of missed that guy last year. So if he can go in there and do that and be humble about it, with as much weed as in Colorado there is, I think he will be very humble with the role. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to see this new
pot smoker. I wouldn't look at Westbrook as a stoner, to be honest with you.
I don't think so either.
I think Westbrook's at least past the days where he thinks he's a top player in the NBA.
I hope so.
I don't think he expects to go in and be a big time starter for teams at this point. I think he's conditioned. So if he accepts his role, which he kind of did for the Clippers, of just being a high intensity guy off the second unit, I think it's a low risk move, right? They didn't commit a lot of money to him, so at least see what he can do for you. And at the end of the day, as long as that organization isn't trying to trade him and backstab him like LeBron was at every turn, I think he's a good teammate, and I think he's a hard worker. And you need guys like that on your lineup. And good for us. He's at least in a position to win now, and KCP's gone. It opens up some minutes for him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. They needed some backcourt minutes to be filled up. Yeah, but I mean, hey guys, that's feeling like a good episode. How are y'all feeling about it?
Yeah. It was good to be back.
Yeah, that's been another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. Once again, I'm joined by the Bums, AJ, Adam. Y'all were fantastic today. I'm glad we really got to talk about some craziness. Yeah,
Sure, Adam.
mid.
You're great.
Yeah. Hey,
USA,
for all you
USA.
gymnastics fans, tune in for AJ's weekly digest of all that is acrobatics.
It's going to be baseline bums gymnastics after dark.
The baseline
Yeah.
ballerinas.
I'm going to have Chalk come over and just.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, guys, that was a good episode. And as always, it's go,
Go
Spurs. Go.
USA, USA, USA,
USA.
USA.